Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Today we are covering Creature from the Black Lagoon, which came out in 1954.
Yes.
Okay. And we have a brand new, first time on the podcast, new guest.
Yes.
Carrie.
Hello, all.
You might have known her from several requests that she's made already.
Quite a few. I know a few movies. That's fine.
Just a handful.
Ah.
This particular movie was actually requested by a different
Yes, Keith, or Bored Now on YouTube. And yeah, but before we go into the review, let's grab our cups and talk about tea.
I'm so glad this is our last one today.
Oh no, my tea!
Oh my god.
This is, every time we have a new person, though, we're always the most awkward. Like I was telling Carrie, that's like, if you ever guest on our podcast, expect to guest multiple times, because we're like, what do we do again? It's like we're brand new and we don't know what we're doing.
We promise we're better than this most of the time.
I mean, this is the first time I'm on a podcast, so...
Well, congratulations.
Hooray! I finally did it. I broke that barrier.
But so for the tea, I am drinking the Plum Deluxe Buttery Shortbread Herbal Tea.
Ooh.
It's got honey bush tea, cocoa peel, blackberry leaves, and flavor essences. And it does not have caffeine because I've had enough caffeine. Where
Yes, you have.
Yeah. I'm getting I'm close to the level of like the shaky point. I'm like, that's it. I'm cutting it off.
That's when it gets fun.
No.
That bad, okay.
What about you? What tea are you drinking?
I'm not drinking anything quite as fancy. I almost had fancy tea, but then it was like,
This is fine. No judgment.
I just have some good old classic Bigelow Earl Grey.
Ooh, that's some good stuff.
Classic.
That is some good stuff. And I am drinking Plum Deluxe's Reading Nook Blend black tea. And this one has black tea, rosebuds, lavender, chamomile, and natural flavor. This version does have caffeine, but on their website they do have a different version it's the same flavor, but no caffeine.
Yes. Yeah, we need to have you smell that one after we're done recording, because it smells...
Here.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if you could maneuver around the mic. I wasn't going to make you.
Challenge
very
accepted.
carefully.
Challenge accepted.
Let me close my boiling tea water. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
This one's our favorite from Plum Deluxe.
It's
like
the
a
shit.
hug in a cup.
Yeah.
That's a good tea.
Yes.
Yes. But as always, thank you so much to Plum Deluxe for allowing us to continue to do what we love, and for our amazing tea sippers out there. Brew yourself a cup of tea, sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy the review. I swear, every single time I'm going to come up with a different adjective to like describe our tea sippers, because you all are amazing and lovely people.
Amazing.
Get on with the summary,
Ecstatic.
please.
Elated.
I think we know the summary. for Creature of the Black Lagoon.
How would you describe Creature from the Black Lagoon?
These scientists go to this lagoon, and they
The
talk
Black
about,
Lagoon.
yeah, the Black Lagoon specifically, and they find a fossil, and apparently this animal was not extinct because it's actually in the lagoon, and it's super horny for a human woman, and kidnaps her, and then they shoot it and it dies. The end.
What a succinct summary, She's
I am so talented. I know.
She's not entirely wrong.
just kind of miss the part where the whole everything, the crux of the plot happens because these humans come tromping into this lagoon, this prehistoric
killing
lagoon,
all the fish.
killing all these fish, littering, throwing poison in the water, shooting spear guns at the poor creature that's just minding its own business, and the creature's like,
Yeah, okay. I gotta know. If a creature like this is into humans, does it count as bestiality?
they made a whole different movie about that.
That's true. This is true. I haven't watched that movie yet, but
It was actually good.
It's
Yeah.
very good, yes. I highly recommend. Shape of Water, if you didn't know that movie. I would argue, I will be the outsider argument here of saying that the creature was at first interested in Kay, because she has a name, Kay.
We're awful with names.
yeah,
That's
we just
okay.
Why we don't
we're just
use
like
names.
scientist 1,
Because we
scientist 2.
forget.
That's okay. I only remember her name. I would argue that he was at first interested in her, but then when it turned out she was pretty much just as bad as the other people on the boat, it was more like, I just need to get rid of all of you because now you guys started all of this.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because they only had like those 2 interactions of her swimming and then him kidnapping her, but
Yeah.
that's about it, really.
Yeah.
Really.
But, so before we go too much on that tirade, let's go ahead and officially move to the entertainment scale.
Yes.
So this one I'm kind of pulling out of my ass on the fly. Because I did not think about the rating too hard. I'm definitely glad that I saw this movie.
Mhm.
And I definitely would recommend that anyone who hasn't seen this movie to watch it, because, I mean, it's a classic.
Yes.
And it's not like the silent films, like you still get more like the modern like pacing and stuff like that. But I would do it a 6.25.
That's very specific. Okay.
You know what's funny?
What?
I was gonna give it the same.
That's funny. But like, I do enjoy watching older movies and seeing what at the time, like the artistry and creativity. And so it's like, I thought the varying shots were really cool. Like they did a lot of shots from the water and different angles and stuff like that. And it really, especially the underwater shots, I really got Jaws vibes, like heavy Jaws vibe. And I will say, even though the costume was kind of cringe, the scene where Kay is swimming and the creature is swimming underneath and getting like really close and just like following her, that was like a really good like creepy scene. Like
Yes.
that would wig me out.
That was very much like a Beauty and the Beast style shot.
yeah.
I agree. I really like that shot too. I like that whole sequence, even though she suddenly synchronized dance, swimming unexplainably, but still.
Yeah. But it was really cool. And it's like, and she never really finds out that
No.
it's a creature. It's like, yeah, it got caught in the net, but they didn't technically see it. So maybe later on down the line, she might have been like, oh, that's what was in the net, but it's not like it's explicitly
Yeah.
explained, or she's like, oh my god, this thing was following me.
She did make a face when they brought up the net and the hole was in it, that she was like, oh, I was swimming in that water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could have been
Which
me.
is a proper reaction.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, like, I know I mentioned this in the previous episode, but can we just talk about why all of the women in old movies get kidnapped? It's just
Yes.
like, it's just such a trope that's like, make it end. What, it's like, that's the one thing that is a little bit frustrating about watching the classics, is like, all of the women get kidnapped. It's like, I'm not asking for a lot, but it's just like, it's almost like you're repeating the same storyline over and over, but with a different creature.
Well, it's like the women tripping when they're running away from the thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And falling and being helpless and
Yep.
Yep.
Like, the frustrating thing about her character was in the beginning of the movie, they were trying to make her out as like, oh, she's not going to be your atypical female character because she's smart, she's a scientist, her fiance is like, yeah, she should be paid the same as me. I'm like, alright, cool, dude.
I'm still having the same argument today.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, she's very smart, but then, like, as soon as they get into the lagoon, it's like, she's just here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wasn't really involved in the science that they were trying to do there, gathering samples, looking at everything. It was so frustrating.
Yes.
It's almost like a transition period where they're like, oh, we want to start having stronger female characters, but we don't know how.
Yeah.
Yes.
To make, because it's like I've seen other movies where it's like strong female characters, but they end up making them like come out as like super macho. Like they don't know how to handle like a fleshed out, like atypical, like female character.
Yeah, yeah. Which,
and really, they just need to be well-rounded.
yes,
Yeah.
that's all they need to be. But she started that way, but then she just stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But my only other thoughts is the costume was pretty terrible. I love how whenever the creature was underwater, you could clearly see like the eyes of the person, but then whenever it came out of the water, is completely separate eyes. And I'm assuming the person was walking around blind. Like I can't picture a way that they could have seen through those.
Pretty close to blind. All he had was these like two little bitty slits, and like in fact, it's because of that. And because in the scene where he kidnaps Kay and he's like carrying her through the cave, he accidentally caused her to scrape her head on the cave wall because he couldn't see and she couldn't see because she had to be unconscious. So they're just walking around blind. And bonk, oh!
Yeah, movie set safety protocols were very different back in that day.
No. And like, I will say that there were two different actors that played the creature. There was the one on land, which his performance was atypical of many rubber suit acting at the time of just straight and... But I do agree that between the two, I preferred the performance of the actor that portrayed the creature in the water.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a lot
more
smoother.
fluid.
Yeah.
Yes, that like he didn't have to go that hard for the 50s. But I think I put in my notes in there like the Doug Jones of scuba acting.
What's your official rating for entertainment?
I would rate it more out of 7. It does have some campiness, that
A little bit.
atypical black and white monster movie campiness, which makes it entertaining. I thoroughly appreciated that because for pretty much almost every single Universal Studios monster movie for that time period, so that movie always brought something new to the table, whether it was like new makeup or new filming techniques or a new story or a new way to deliver the story. And for Creature from the Black Lagoon, that thing was that they decided to film it in 3D. And so they were like pioneering not only how to film underwater, but how to film in 3D, which several times they had to like use 2 separate cameras to film.
I was really impressed with how clear the underwater shots were.
Yes. For those, I think all the underwater shots, I think were filmed in Florida.
I believe
places. Yeah.
That was actually part of what took me out of the immersion. Was because it was so clear when
This
it's
is
supposed to be
definitely
the
Florida.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But
Made for some nice shots, though.
Oh, yes. Definitely.
So I, again, give it a 6.25 as well. It was more enjoyable than Nosferatu. I appreciated the pacing better in this one.
yes.
It was an interesting story, especially for the time period. They didn't do much like underwater at that time that I can recall. The suit
We all got a comment on the suit.
Wasn't the greatest. We've seen worse.
Yes.
We have seen worse, for sure.
For the time period.
For the time period, it was good. It's not great.
No.
It's surprisingly pretty well detailed, though.
It is. It definitely is.
It's just, like, obviously, like, very, like, rubbery, like,
yeah.
One Piece looking.
Yes. It does get better in the sequels.
Good to know.
Yes. The suit does go through transitions in the sequels, and it does get better. And in fact, in the third one, there's 2 different versions of the creature in the third one. There's the one we know, and there's a different one. But I will not spoil that for future watching.
So, I definitely preferred the performance when they were underwater. For sure.
Yeah.
It was a lot more fluid, a lot more organic. He moved a lot more naturally than the one on land.
Yes.
For sure. I feel like the behavior was a little weird, and that part of it could probably be explained by the 2 different actors. And the fact that one of them can't really see. But it did seem a little odd, and we'll get into more of this in the realism, but just the behavior with the people themselves and the motivations behind them and everything. So it seemed to miss the mark just a little bit for me. But I still really appreciate this movie and what it brought to the table for the horror genre, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, moving on to realism. This one's a doozy.
There's 2 sides to this.
Yeah, so...
Fun to watch, not realistic.
But, yeah, for realism, I'm sure there are some details that maybe I missed that you 2 will have picked up on better, but for me, I would rate this like a 1. I'll say a 1.
Wow.
I'll just commit to a 1. Well, like...
Wow.
Well, we've been harsh today.
Apparently.
We've been very harsh today.
So, like, first, on, like, the fossilization, the webbing, since it's soft tissue, would have very unlikely been fossilized. Like, yes, there are those rare instances where they will find, like, the outline of, like, a fish or whatever, of, like, cartilage and stuff like that, but those are considered, like, treasure finds. Like, it is very difficult to have a fossil that's, like, as well preserved with webbing as this one was. And then also, it was the 50s. How would they have had the technology to determine just from, like, a partial, like, arm how strong the creature was? Because they pull out the fossil and they're like, oh, this was, like, such a strong creature. For all you know, this animal had gigantic arms and then just a teeny tiny little blah. Like, they have no proof that this animal... Like, I do understand that there is a certain level of predictability where you understand, oh, like, this is a animal's, like, basic ratio of features, so based off of this, it's like, that's how we figure out, like, dinosaurs, whenever we have partial fossils. But with the little amount that we had, and it was a brand new find, they wouldn't have figured that out on the first fossil. Like, they would have had to take, like, multiple pieces.
Do you know why? It's called foreshadowing.
It was purely plot device.
Yeah, for real. And then...
It made no sense.
And then another part was, these are scientists. So while I can understand, like, earlier scientists maybe not appreciating nature or the environment as heavily as the scientists today, it's like scientists overall are known for, like, appreciating the environment and like trying to, like, conserve it because they realize how important it is. But so the scientists that are just like, oh, we find this creature, we need to kill it, and then are like, oh, let's kill everything in the water while we're at it multiple times. Like,
it didn't work the first time, we gotta make it go deeper.
Yeah, just like, there's so many things wrong with that. It's like, I would assume that by the 50s, knowing about, like, animals that went extinct and, like, other mistakes that scientists from previous generations made, that they would have learned and be like, maybe this isn't the greatest idea. And it's like, I feel like nowadays scientists would be like, hell no, we're not going to do that.
You realize you're talking about humans, right?
Yeah, but
I know. I get where you're coming
Scientists-
from, but
I mean, they would have to be extremely crappy scientists. Like, they should not be in the field if their first conclusion is, we must kill everything.
Like Darwin eating all his animals.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a really weird thing I learned about. Yeah.
I would agree on that front. They were pretty lackluster scientists.
Yeah, they did know. And then, I mean, you know, some of the reactions. Like, I love how they kind of switch back and forth between, like, we're gonna kill it, we're gonna capture it, we're gonna kill it. And then, like, the cage that they had the creature in, like, did they even try?
No.
It was just, like, they had someone guarding it, and then as soon as the guy looked away, the creature had no problems whatsoever getting out.
Because the creature was clearly smarter than all the scientists on the boat.
Yeah. And then, of course...
movie's got a movie.
And then, of course, can we talk about the fact that, like, just the whole, like, idea of the creature itself, it's like, I would think it would make more sense to associate it with, like, the aquatic ape theory, or, like, what we were talking about before recording, like, an amphibian or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just...
Or like a whale situation.
Yeah. But, anyways, that's what I got.
As I think for my rating, I don't think I'll be quite as harsh. I would give it more of like a 3.5, maybe soft 4, because some of the things where the scientists are sitting there talking about scientific things, especially for the time period, were very accurate. Like when they were talking about the lungfish, or that other prehistoric fish, or how evolution works. All of that was accurate. And even like, they didn't even have to do the whole thing with like the scuba techniques of, they have to wait before coming back up to prevent the bends.
That's true.
They didn't have to do that, but they did. But there are other parts in it where it's like, oh no.
Damn it, I was too harsh. Okay, I'll write the 2.5. That's my final answer. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, like just the handling of the fossil. It's like, we found this whole entire like forearm hand thing, like just this of a creature. Let me break it off.
That was one of the things that annoyed me the absolute most.
Yeah.
Handle it and jostle it with my hands. And also, when I go to present it to my other fellow scientists, have it staked on a metal pole to show off to my scientist friends. Instead of just being like, yo, we found a giant hand. Let's leave the hand here so we can find the rest of it.
Yes.
But they didn't. And then when they were trying to find the rest of it, they're going in with freaking pickaxes.
Yeah.
It's like, and no licking of rocks.
None.
None. Was
Yeah.
so disappointed.
I learned about that today.
I do wish we saved that.
I
for
know,
this
I did
recording
too.
now. Yes.
I was just like, what?
Yeah, she had never
Why
heard
would
of
you
that
like a
before.
rock?
Yeah.
To find out if it's a fossil.
But okay, if your tongue gets stuck on it, then how do you, like, unstick it?
It's not glue.
Because whenever you say that, I think of, like, A Christmas Story, like, he's stuck to the pole, like, yeah, let me out.
No.
It's not frozen, it's just porous.
It's just porous. Like, it'll
If it
have a
doesn't-
slight stickiness.
Yeah, if
to
it
your
doesn't
tongue.
glide across the thing,
Yeah.
then it's a fossil. If it glides across the rock, it's rock.
Yeah.
I have to also wonder, like, I'm concerned because, like, depending on where the fossil is, like, you don't know what, like, there could be lead, there could be, like, dangerous, like...
Yeah. That's the joy of being a geologist.
Yep.
You never know what you're going to lick.
How many licks to the center of the fossil?
It's just roulette.
Yeah, exactly.
Just rock roulette.
You're like, let's test how strong evolution is.
Yeah.
Or how strong my immune system is.
Yeah.
Of course, they only really lick rocks when they're like actively like in areas where there could be fossils, or if there's the potential of fossils. They're not like going to lava rocks and going, ah.
Yeah.
That's a rock.
They lick it with purpose.
Yes. Lick all your rocks with purpose.
One could argue that we typically lick out of purpose for many different purposes.
Then that's not out of purpose.
Yeah.
What?
Moving on. Moving on. Let's see. What else was I going to say? As far as like the realism goes, yeah, the some of the people's reactions, like as far as the creature goes, of we have to kill it, and it's like no, maybe. It's like, maybe what you should have done is when you found out, hey, this lagoon is associated with this fossil, but now there's a living creature that we want to study in this lagoon, we should go back, because we weren't prepared for this, and come back when we are prepared. And do your David Attenborough impression and observe from afar. But no.
Or if you really want to get in on it, do your Steve Irwin impression.
Yes. Which
He's angry.
Yeah, he's angry. I shot a spear at him. He's angry. Yeah. That was the other I don't know if you can curse, but the jerk scientist there, he's like, oh, we have to bring it in. I'm a 50s man.
We're okay with moderate cursing.
Okay.
If we curse too much, the YouTube algorithm is like, meh.
So I can call him the douche scientist.
Yes.
Okay, good.
We are not a family-friendly program.
Okay, good.
Apparently.
Good to know.
We've never been family-friendly.
I've tried.
No, there is no reason to try. We are a horror podcast. Like, children should not be listening to us. They should not be
They
watching
really
movies.
shouldn't. Yeah.
Just
They shouldn't be watching movies. No movies at all for you kids.
Just Coco Melon, the worst of it all.
just Peppa Pig.
No.
No, just the old school Teletubbies.
That scared me.
Yes.
And like the baby just like,
Yes.
just like,
You do know that the people that made Teletubbies made a new show
oh
no.
no.
that's worse than Teletubbies.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's like way more nonsensical. I think it's called Booba. But if you look at it, it looks like Boom Blah Ba Ba, but I think it's called Boomba. It's weird. It's these aliens, and they're like round and really floppy. And they fly around doing fart noises.
Okay, that's a show I can get behind.
It's so
You had her at fart noises.
I'm gonna have to. You know, as soon as you say fart noises, I'm there.
They're popping up out of their beds and they're flying out of their beds going.
I just roll over to the TV.
Wow, we got way off track.
A little bit, yeah.
Anyways,
how would you rate Creature from the Black Lagoon as far as realism
I give it a
goes?
2.
A 2, okay.
I feel like a 1 was a little too harsh.
Yeah.
Shockingly.
I did pull it out
I
of my
know.
ass, so
I know.
I tend to like
And you
be either
changed
too
it.
generous
Mhm.
or like too lenient.
I know.
No
Yeah.
in between.
Yeah. So I give it a 2. I feel like there are too many unknowns in this and too many assumptions, and the scientists don't know how to scientist
No.
at all.
No.
And I feel like I appreciated when they showed certain animals in the Amazon.
Mhm.
So like there's the caiman that they
Yes.
showed a couple of times. They showed the gar, which
Mhm.
I did look it up. They are in the Amazon.
Yes.
Because I was under the impression it was only in like the southern U.S. kind of area, but they are actually in like the coastal and areas and in the Amazon. So good to know.
Which, speaking of the gar, why didn't they compare the Creature from the Black Lagoon to the gar? which would have made more sense.
Yes!
It's a prehistoric fish that has barely changed in millennia, and yet they compare it to some other fish
Because
that...
they wanted to make it sound more exotic.
Whatever. They're showing a lungfish.
I know.
And he looks more like a mud skipper.
I know.
Learn your animals.
But
Scientists.
I was a little annoyed that they didn't show more wildlife in the movie. It's the Amazon.
Because they were in Florida.
Yes, I know they were in Florida, but I don't know if they just didn't have the budget for more animals or what.
Probably.
I love it. You're so good at ignoring the chaos that happens on my side.
This is normal.
Like, I was playing footsies with V in the last episode because my phone had fallen. Yeah, first it fell on his foot, and he's like, "Oh," and then I'm playing footsies with him, trying to get my freaking phone.
I see what goes on here now. I see why he comes often and guests on episodes so often now.
Anyway, so they didn't show many animals. It's supposed to be the Amazon forest
They sure had a lot
and
of
the
monkey
Amazon
calls.
River. Yeah, they had the calls, but it sounded like a freaking soundboard.
Yeah,
It probably was because it's Florida. I feel like the vegetation didn't match at
No.
all.
It definitely looked like a Florida lagoon.
Yes. The water was definitely too clear. It was nice for camera shots and things, so, the audience can see what's going on. But if we can see super, super clearly everything that's happening, then the lady swimming on top of the water should see that the thing is right under her. So,
God, could you imagine, like, looking down and thinking, like,
Well, hello.
that would have actually made for a better, funnier scene, because then she would have been freaking
Yes.
out, splashing about, turning around, trying to swim desperately back to the boat.
Which that's the whole funny thing, because she was the one trying to tell the guys to not scuba dive because they don't know what's in the water.
Yeah.
And then they come back, and what does she do?
Yep.
Swim in the water.
Yeah,
In
I
the
love
water.
how...
With the caimans.
With the
And the
caimans.
snakes.
And the guards.
Guard.
Yeah.
Which, most of which, of course, won't necessarily attack a human. Most of them don't.
Still.
But there have been instances, and I know some people argue piranha, they generally
They
don't.
don't.
They might nibble a toe
If they're hungry.
if they're super hungry, but they're mostly scavengers. So they prey on the dead and the dying.
Which I'm surprised
And
they didn't show
vegetation.
any piranha.
They showed none whatsoever.
See, like, the most dangerous fish I've heard in that area is the fish that goes up your urethra.
Which is myth.
It's not true.
What?
It's myth.
What?
It's not
Yeah.
true.
We got one!
Yes!
Okay. We got a true reaction. I looked it up. I was curious too. I looked it up. It is a myth.
It's not true.
Freaking Animal Planet lied to me. Because there was this, like,
There was a guy that claimed that happened to him, but there was no evidence of
No.
that. It made no sense. His
There-
story didn't add up.
There are fish that are drawn to urine.
Mhm.
So if you pee in the water, they show up and they're like, "Ooh, urine." But it's not unusual in that area for locals to be like, "Oh, be careful of that fish; it'll swim up," and everything. But it doesn't actually happen.
Yeah, they like to mess with the non-locals.
Oh.
It's like Australians messing with outsiders.
Yes.
It's a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a myth. But there are plenty of other dangers.
Yes. There's
Plenty of other dangers.
brackish water. It's just
Yes. And, I mean, they were far enough inland that bull sharks wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of other things in the water that you don't want to mess with.
Well, because it's a lagoon.
Yes.
Which means it's like stagnant water.
Things are going to congregate there.
Yes. No. Don't swim in there.
Yeah, no.
Your sensitive parts say no.
Everything should say no.
Everything says
Self-preservation should say no.
Yeah. And the bugs and...
Yeah, there were
Yeah.
like no mosquitoes.
Yeah, there was nothing out there at all. I feel like they would have gotten eaten alive by something.
At some point.
Yeah. So, and they were on land and all, and there are things on land as well that, like, everything in the Amazon wants to kill you.
Yes.
The Amazon's a very dangerous place.
Yes.
And even the locals are cautious for a reason. Everything out there wants to kill you.
Just jaguars, It's fine.
Just jaguars that have the highest bite pressure per size
It
of
can
any
carry
cat.
a full-grown man up a tree. It's fine.
In, like, 0.5 seconds.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. And it's not like they don't have, bugs that can also kill you.
Malaria.
Yeah.
It's
All
fine.
kinds of diseases and things, infections. But yeah, sure, go ahead and jump
swim.
right in the lagoon and swim all around with no one else even watching.
Yeah, exactly.
I never want to go outside again.
You're fine.
Thank you for
know what's-
finalizing my decision.
No, you know what's really going to make you never want to go outside again?
What?
You know the gar that they showed?
Yeah.
Those are in Texas, and they get bigger.
They're big. They're big boys.
Yes, there are some that are longer than men are tall.
Mm-hmm.
They're like 300 pounds.
Yeah. They are
Plus.
big prehistoric boys.
Yes.
I wonder if because there's one time that I swam in a lake and I had like a bunch of like really ginormous fish like swimming next to me. I quickly got up out of the water and the person driving the boat was like, "Oh, that's so-and-so fish." I was just like, "Well, I'm not going back in because it looks like it could just swallow me whole."
Was it a bass?
No, it did not. It was like, it's a long fish. So I don't know if it was that or...
Could be a whole number of things.
Yeah.
Could have been a
You described
catfish.
so many
It
different
wasn't a
fish like that.
catfish, I don't think. It didn't have the whiskers.
Well, it's a good thing it wasn't, because catfish are poisonous and they can kill you. That's why you don't go noodling.
Noodle?
We're teaching you so many things. Noodling is a form of fishing where you go find a catfish nest and you jam your arm into the catfish nest.
Oh my god!
See, I hadn't heard of that one before.
You basically jam your arm in the catfish nest and you use your arm basically as bait to grab the catfish. Presumably, it's best if you get your whole arm into the catfish and pull it out.
So
See,
you're fisting the catfish.
that just seems like a bad idea to
It
me.
is because people have drowned because the fish would drag them
Well,
underwater.
they're strong fish.
They are.
Catfish are very strong.
And their barbs are poisonous.
And they can live in absurdly small amounts of water and mud.
Yep, definitely never going outside. Nope. Not for
Creature
me.
from the Black Lagoon,
Yeah.
the movie that got Alyssa to stay indoors.
Yeah, everything is trying to kill us, and no.
Okay, but that's way further south.
Yeah.
That's in the Amazon.
Yeah. You're fine.
Still, we're close enough. We're too close for comfort.
A few miles away. Stone's
A
throw.
few 100 miles away. The water was too clear. I didn't understand why the creature was after her specifically. They're a completely different species.
Mm-hmm.
How does he even know that she's female versus the other humans that are male?
I have a hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that birds can mistake humans for being birds.
What?
That's fair. Yeah, ostriches do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They have a problem
Yes.
with breeding ostriches because they'll be more interested in their human handlers than other ostriches.
Because what imprinting does and why imprinting is so important on newly hatched birds is when they see their parents.
Oh.
It's imprinted in their heads, like, that is what I am.
Mhm.
But if, say, the chicks are raised by humans and they're not doing efforts of making sure that they are birds, then the bird will start to think it's a human.
Mhm.
So it will start becoming attracted to humans.
Yes.
Because, like, I knew that, it's like if a baby bird sees you when it first hatch, it thinks that you're its mom. But I guess I never thought past that. And so it does mean, oh, man. Like, that's
Yes.
a terrible thing.
Yes. Like, I forget what species of crane she was, but there was this particular crane that they desperately wanted her to lay eggs because she was like one of the last vestiges of her species that would have made a dynamic DNA pool. but she was not interested in any of the bows that they would bring her, and they think she killed a couple of them. Until her handler...
You're not saving the species tonight or any other night.
Exactly. Until her handler was like, I wonder. So he starts like imitating her, and she starts warming up to him, if you know what I mean. And they use that to their advantage.
Some Barry White.
They use that to their advantage to inseminate her and lay eggs.
Whatever works.
Whatever works.
I feel like that would have been more awkward for the handler.
It was a little bit, because he was like, okay.
I feel so dirty.
Yeah. Whatever. I mean, they didn't have to, like, because before they tried to inseminate her, they, like, would have to, like, hold her down and try to, like, sedate her and, like, pretty much force and traumatize the poor bird. But he would just be like, sup? How are you doing?
Pouring himself out for coffee.
Yeah.
Just the Joey Tribbiani. How you doing?
Yeah. And she'd be like, I'm doing good. And he'd be like, okay, you're done.
Makes it easier, I guess. It just elicits it. Her world has been completely shaken.
My reality has shattered.
You brought the wrong people to learn about animals on this animal movie.
You can hear her little bubble just shatter.
Do you want to wrap it up?
I need a blanket.
Just don't think about cranes.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, back to realism.
Yes.
Apart from the animals, just the scientific aspect of it, of fossil gathering. When they break off the fossil, instead of carefully chipping away around it and trying to figure out if they can, find the rest of it in the rock. And then they're over here scuba diving to the bottom of the lagoon and picking up random rocks on the bottom of it because, they could get lucky and they could be from the same time period, but more than likely they're going to be buried further down because shit settles.
Yeah.
And then storms come through and blow other crap in and fish move stuff around and stuff falls out of the sky because, weather is a thing. And so, again, they could get extremely lucky with a few of the rocks on the bottom, but that's not going to be how you're going to find your main samples.
But Jess, that doesn't make sense in this movie. It's a movie.
But it doesn't make sense in general because that's not how any of it works.
I know. And they also went into the whole thing of we just want to collect rocks to see if this lagoon has anything to do with the fossil. When they found that out, they didn't have to stay there.
They really didn't.
They could have left.
Yes.
Anytime.
And yeah, it's an important scientific discovery of finding out that there is still a creature that's living there. But
So
if you
come
know
back.
it's living there, creatures are normally very habitual. It's probably not going to leave if it's made a home there. So go get other equipment to be able to observe it better and come back.
Yes.
Come back
They
with
have
a
all the
camera crew
evidence.
for all you want.
They have all the evidence
Like-
they need.
Yes. Come back when you're better equipped.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So silly. I was that way too watching it.
But
Yeah.
even if it did realize that she was female, would they have even been compatible since they're a different species?
Nope.
No.
I didn't think so.
Most likely not. I mean,
So he would have been very disappointed.
also presuming that the creature is male.
Presuming.
It's a fish.
We have no idea.
Fish don't
It
have
was-
memory
It
glands.
was an amphibious
We
thing.
don't know. They just called it the
Yeah.
fish man.
Well, if it is an amphibian, then it could potentially, like some frogs or lizards, be able to switch its gender.
Yes. Exactly. But since it's the only one, we don't know what gender it is.
It's the only one we saw.
Exactly.
I was confused by that as well. that was the only one we saw.
Yeah.
It was fairly large for a river like that, too. But I demand some consistency with reality. If they're going to try to set it in a realistic setting, I demand more realism than what they give.
You're asking too much of these 50s movie producers.
I know. It was still entertaining to watch.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So.
And I do highly recommend the other two. The creature goes on a big old journey that makes humanity more of the monster than the creature. Which is kind of the main crux of this movie, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in my notes I have that the creature is a wet Lorax.
Yeah, basically.
Basically. Especially when he looked up at the cigarette floating in the water.
Yes.
He's like, oh, how dare!
What is this?
Come tromping in my land, littering your... whatever that is.
Yeah, he did attack the other two scientists that were left behind with the fossil rocks and everything. And he did attack them, but they were also effing up his backyard. So
They were trespassing on his territory.
And again, they were effing up his backyard.
He's like, I don't go into your house and start...
rock fixture.
Yeah, it's like, I don't go into your house and start tearing down walls and going, oh, look, a lucky penny.
That's fair. That was my grandpa.
But any other thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I'm good.
I do have a fun little trivia thing that is really quick that I learned. So when they were filming some underwater sequences in Florida, they were doing it, I think they were doing some of them like in some sort of river or something that was open to the public.
Oh no.
You see where this is going. So at one point while they were filming, the guy that was playing the creature for the underwater scenes is like, I need to go to the bathroom. It was like an emergency bathroom break. So
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
he swam out and he breached the water, but he didn't know there was a mom and a little child next to him. So imagine, you guys are saying, oh, this costume looks so hokey, but imagine you're just sitting there with your kid and this fish man comes out of the water. Out of nowhere.
What makes me laugh even more is chances are the mom had to tell the kid over and over and over that it was safe and that nothing was going to get them in the water.
Oh, he was like, they screamed and I didn't see them anymore.
Just a dust cloud where they were.
It's like, oh no! He traumatized some poor child.
Oh,
Give him
man.
hydrophobia.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
That's great.
I think that's a good piece of trivia to leave it
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Like overall, I think it is one of those movies where if you haven't watched it, it's worth one watch at least to...
on. Definitely.
Yeah, it's just like, you see a lot of the horror tropes and it's enjoyable.
You will learn the horror sting after a few minutes of the da 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 da.
Yeah, the music was...
Da, da, da.
Give
Yeah.
you all the nostalgia feels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But thank you, everyone who joined us today, and thank you so much, Carrie, for guesting.
You guys are welcome.
And
I was happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad.
We had fun.
Yes, and thank you, Keith, for the review. And please
Request.
comment.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, request.
We
Thank
did
you,
the
Keith, for the
review.
request. We did the review. But thank you for the request.
We expect
Last
that by
one of the
midnight.
day.
Yeah. And please comment on what you thought of the movie. I told you I had too much caffeine. If you'd like to recommend a movie, game, or tea and keep up to date with our content, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and most places you listen to podcasts.
And if you'd like to support the podcast, please subscribe, like, and share our content. If you'd like to support us monetarily, we have a Teespring and a PayPal, or we have our affiliate link with Plum Deluxe available. It does not affect the price of the tea, it just allows us to continue to do what we love. And you can find all of the sites mentioned linked below. And until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy. Bye!
Bye.